Okay, hi guys. So, finally, we're going to do Rupert's Tales for Ostara. And then we will be going back to the other book, which means light half of the year. Yay! Okay, here we go. Rupert's Ostara Surprise. So cute. Rupert the rabbit knew the people had come today, yet here he was, moving further and further away. Something had called him when the day was new, some strange feeling telling him what to do. He'd waited and waited for the people to come. He loved to hear them laugh and sing and chant and drum. The sun was coming up, the day had finally started, and he'd found a special reason to feel glad-hearted. Because right there, beside his most favorite tree, was a small patch of grass for all the world to see. The whole long winter had been dark and cold and strong. The taste of grass and clover was sadly long gone. But there they were, those few short blades of tasty green, hidden in the shadows, they almost went unseen. Oh, the sight, oh, the taste, oh, the delightful smell. With one little bite, Rupert's heart began to swell. That tiny patch of grass only lasted a moment or two, but Rupert took his sweet time to nibble and to slowly chew. That's when he heard it, or maybe it was just a feeling, a strange prickly sensation that sent his senses reeling. He looked all around him, then up the tree and down the hill, wondering what the feeling was that gave him such a thrill. For suddenly he had to go, he had to run to flee. It wasn't fear that filled him, just a sense of urgency. He looked around again, confused at which way he should go. He only knew he had to run, and he better not be slow. He saw the sun was rising, and his uneasiness increased. He knew that now that was where to go, so he sped off to the east. He ran right through the meadow that was kind of a round place where the people who came made their circle of sacred space. Then he made a mad dash straight through the thick grove of trees, elms, oaks, birch, and cypress with their long wobbly-knobbly knees. Under the branches, through the bushes, and up a small dirt mound, Rupert was getting tired and his heart was starting to pound. It was there he heard a whisper somewhere inside his head, telling him not to run so fast, to walk a while instead. Because he was walking slowly instead of running quite so fast, he began to notice things he would have otherwise run right past. Here among the many trees reaching up so very high, there were no leaves to block his view, so he could see the whole blue sky. And while there was still some snow in the shadows on the ground, the warmer air told him clearly winter had come unwound. On the branches close to him, on the bushes and on the trees, he saw little buds were growing, coming in twos and threes. And soon, a voice said in his ear, there will be flowers too, and then warm rains will come, making sweet grass just for you. Rupert remembered he'd heard that voice before not so long ago. Although it sounded just as sweet, it was also sounded kind of slow. Yes, that's true, my furry friend, the silvery voice did sing. For now's the time is ripe to reawaken with the spring. The earth is reborn, another voice said, every year around this time. Each plant and animal answering to nature's reasons and her rhyme. And that's when Rupert spotted him, the green man, as a child. Instead of tall and green, though, he looked young and kind of wild. His face was in the bark of an oak tree not too far away. His long arms were made of branches that were colored brown and gray. And there in the tree, just above his head, grew a small short pair of horns, reminding Rupert it wasn't just the plants that were each year reborn. There's the green man in the tree. Come along now, dear one, the goddess whispered on the breeze. Then Rupert saw a strange shadow running between the trees. He started to follow, happy in his heart to do as he was bid, but something stopped him right in his tracks at the very moment that he did. The sun was high, spring had sprung, and it was a beautiful day. The Lord and Lady were with him, where he always hoped to stay. But there was a sound that came from over the last hill, one that made his heart stop and gave him a happy thrill. He could hear the distant drums calling, "Come one, come all." But that's not what he was doing. Oh, no, not at all. Rupert was worried now, not at all sure what he should do. He loved the Lord and Lady, but he missed the people too. "You're growing older now," the lady sang in his long brown ears. "You can watch the people again and again for many years." The god's voice came from a nearby bush saying, "It is the season. Come along now, little friend," he urged, "and you'll soon know the reason." Rupert remembered Melvin and the Mabbon that he'd missed, and that in the end he'd gotten everything for which he'd wished. And so he turned away from the people and all their different ways, then hopped along down the path, following the god with no more delays. As he trailed along behind the shadow, he sometimes thought he could see the face or dress or hand or foot of the goddess hidden in a tree. Like the god, she was all around, sometimes above or below. They were always there, not far away, and that was good to know. The young green man laughed when he saw two squirrels playing in a tree. "Ah, yes," he said, "it's spring, and that's the way it's supposed to be." "Yes," the lady said, "and Ostara is the name the people call this day. You'll know it, my little friend, because it's marked in a very special way. The wheel of the year is turning again, and spring has come our way. And now," the god explained, "time is equal, both the night and the day." Rupert remembered Mabbon and the equinox way back in the fall, and he knew he could remember this one without any problem at all. Yes, now is a time for rebirth and planting, along with many other things. People begin to sow their seeds and plow the land, and some have a bell that rings. The god laughed again, right out loud, as he seemed to do a lot. Then he said to Rupert, "But there's something else to do, is there not?" That's when Rupert saw her, standing quietly in a pool of warm sunlight. She was another rabbit whose ears were long, and she had fur that was white. That's when he remembered the morning and that strange prickly feeling, the one that had made him run and sent all his senses reeling. He hadn't understood then just what had made him run and hurry down the hill. He didn't have to wonder now what it was that had given him such a thrill. It was nature being nature that had made him have to run to flee. It was God and Goddess calling him that had filled him with urgency. "Ah, my friend," said the god, "and now you begin to understand why it is we called you and made our curious demand. Everyone," the goddess said, "should have someone special for their heart, someone all their own, for whom they hope they will never have to part." Rupert's got a girlfriend. "Her name is Roxanne," the god told him, "in case you'd really like to know. You'll like her, I'll bet, and look, her fur is just as beautiful as snow." "Now go over there and say hello," the Lord told Rupert with a smile. "Talk and laugh and get to know each other. That might take a little while." Rupert knew they were right, the Lord and Lady, and everything they said, but he still stood there trembling, not knowing what to say or do instead. The goddess whispered in his ear, "See, she's looking right your way. Go and make a new beginning then, on this, the first spring day." The end. So the next Sabbat, we will start the light half of the yearbook for Rupert's Tales, which will be Bedtime. I hope you have a wonderful spring equinox.